What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Last week's market had some magic money making moves, which for us we were able to cash in. I'm going to show you exactly how you could have cashed in as well, following us step by step. Now, whether you're looking to start with $100 or looking to actually try and leave your 9 to 5, all that free value is going to be coming from this channel. So make sure you hit that notification bell to get all the information that we are going to be putting out. Now, I'm going to run you through that entire recap right now, absolutely free on this video, to show you guys some of the trades that I took that were the most cleaner ones for the week. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, here we are on the first pair we're going to be looking at. So I don't usually trade a lot of pairs. I'm trading GU, EU, GJ, UJ, Gold US30 and NAS. Okay, those are my only pairs. All major pairs because you get all the volume going into those pairs. And if you want to be trading like I trade, which is very low time frame because I'm only looking to get in and out of the market within the same day, I'm not looking at holding trades for a very long time. Does that mean I haven't held trades longer than like a week? I have. Yes, I've done that. However, with my style and my personality, I only like to trade very, very short term. Okay, so I'm a very impatient person, but I've had to learn patience being a day trader because honestly, if you don't have patience, you're just gonna lose, and lose again. So let's get into it. As you can see, an absolutely phenomenal trade down here. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not holding these trades all the way. I'm taking partials or I'm taking the full amount out at different levels. In this video, I'm just going to show you the optimal entry that we took and where that potentially could have gone if you had held the entire way to the week ending, okay? Or from the entry to the lowest point that you could have made money. Now let's get into it. Let's have a look at our first trade. Now, with the strategy that I'm trading, I like to see retracements for my entries, okay? So we hit the breakout here, breaker structure, price pulling back up a sufficient amount. So I usually call that somewhere between 50%, above 50%, usually the 618, whatever, if you're into that fib retracement. And then I want to see another push off on our lower time frame. So we had that push off here, price pulls back coming up into this 5-minute point of interest. 5-minute and the 1-minute are the areas that I'm looking at getting in for my entries, okay? So we had this point of interest up here, price had broken below internal breaker structure after our sufficient retracement. Stay with me, guys. All of these terms you are going to be familiar with if you download our absolutely free Forex beginner's guide. That is in our free Discord. Absolutely free, like all of this value free, all of that information in our free Discord that you guys can get. Push down, pull all the way back. This is my entry. Now, stop loss above the previous high. If you want to be good at entries, you have to know where to put your stop loss. Stop loss at previous high, and price just continued to mount. I entered this just before London session. And I held that all the way to New York session, which is somewhere around here. So I was getting out just before I went to bed. I didn't want to hold that trade. Price had pushed it down and started pulling back up. I had gotten out somewhere in here. At that point was about a 1 to 5 trade. Okay, I'm happy with a 1 to 5. If you're not happy with a 1 to 5, you know, you gotta learn not to be greedy. You can't be greedy all the time within the market, otherwise it's just gonna take your money, bro. Trust me. So New York session, we got that pull down, pulled all the way back up into this point of interest, and you could have got another entry here. Another entry for a very, very nice 1 to 7. If we had held this trade all week, it could have been a 1 to 26 trade. Now, remember what I said, I don't usually like to hold trades that long, but it is what it is. So into our next trade on GU, which we ended up taking on Thursday. This was based off the 15-minute. On our 15-minute, we had a breaker structure here internally, and then price pushing down and getting this low, pulling all the way back up into here. Now off here, I'm wanting to see rejection. And that's what you want to look for at points of interest. You want to see rejection. You want to see price respecting what is held in those key levels. So we're getting that rejection, price pulling up, getting rejection, price pulling up. And at that point, I was like, okay, it's obviously rejecting from here. It's got so much support at this area. Let's see if we want to continue to push lower and see what happens. I entered here, stop loss above here, point of interest, because I wasn't looking at risking a lot. I didn't want to hold that trade through this point of interest. If it had pushed through this point of interest, there's not really much up here for price to be coming up for. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, if it does push through this point of interest, I'm just not going to trade it. I'm risking 1% on this trade. I ended up holding this trade. This was on Thursday morning, and then I ended up holding this trade to London. It was a phenomenal trade. One of the trades that I liked, like one of my most favorite trades during the week that I liked, ended up being, I got out somewhere around here when it started consolidating again, just after London Open, and then there was about a 1 to 10 trade. Obviously, if you had that trade higher away, that would have been a 1 to 15. Not bad, but it is what it is. The next trade that I was potentially looking at but didn't get that rejection from this point of interest like I hoped before price absolutely melted. Now this was NFP, and if you don't know what NFP is, you just got to learn the fundamentals. I'm going to be bringing out videos about that anyway. Points of interest here, price pulling all the way back up to the point of interest. If I was going to take that trade, it would have been off here. However, I didn't, because there was news coming up. I did suspect that we were going to go into sales, and if you haven't watched my stories on my Instagram, you would have seen that we absolutely annihilated NFP. With that confluence, I should have just went into this trade for sales, but yeah, I'm not too sure why. Maybe I was lacking confidence in it. Because we're still creating high, low, high, and hadn't got the rejection that I had hoped for within here before absolutely melting. So another one lost for me, another one missed for me, but it is what it is. All right, let's go to EU. All right, as we can see, price was up in this area here, and we're waiting for change of character or market structure shift, whatever you want to call it. Internal breaker structure, change of internal change of character here, okay? And then we got overall change of character, which at that point I was like, okay, need to retrace 50% back into this POI, which we did. So this is a 15-minute POI. Now off this point, I'm looking for rejection. We get rejection here. Price starts pulling back up though because of this point of interest in here. And then we got one rejection here and then 3 taps. So if you're into like the chart analysis or chart pattern stuff, you know, triple tops right into this point of interest, getting support, resistance up here for us to be pulling back down. So if we go to our 5-minute, this is where I take my entries, as you guys know, and it was so clean. We got price getting that change of character below, pulling back up into this 5-minute point of interest, and that is where I took the trade from. Stop loss being above this triple tops here for us to then be trading it down. And this trade was absolutely crazy. This was just before London as well, and we just continued to create lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, absolutely melting all the way down into here. So if we had held this trade, that would have been a 1 to 40 trade all the way down to the bottom, which is honestly absolutely nuts. However, you know that we don't trade for, you know, longer than a day, and I only held it up until NYSE, where in this certain scenario price started to pull back up. So it started to pull back up, we got closure above this point here, and at that point I was like, okay, I moved my stop loss down into this area here, so I was going to win like 2% anyway, 3-4%, something like that. Price just continued to go down, so I actually ended up taking price around here, which was a 1 to 13 trade. Still happy with that, like I'm not angry at all. That was a super clean entry, exactly what I was waiting to see and what I want to look for, and it just shows patience pay. That sounds so weird, honestly, saying it. And then from this point, that's what we're looking for again. Didn't trade the next day, waited for this breakout here. Obviously this is Thursday morning, so I'm not actually looking to get into a trade. And then going into London session, this is what we're looking for. So price had pulled back up into this 15-minute point of interest, which is what I'm looking for. And off this 15-minute point of interest, we get another breaker structure. So breaker structure, pulling back up into this 15-minute point of interest, but also a 5-minute point of interest. Now off this 5-minute point of interest, we get that push down, which is what we're waiting for price to pull back up, rejection, pull back up for the triple tops, which this week ended up being like a thing. It wasn't here that I actually got in. I waited for price to come back down, and in this candle, this is where I got in. So price pulled up and it started pulling back, so there was like rejection for me, boom, entry. We only ended up holding that trade for a little while because this was going into New York session. Ended up holding the trade to about this point here. So it was only like a 1 to 5 that I ended up taking, and then I went to bed because this was like just after midnight. But that was a couple of trades on EU. So getting into GJ, I only took the one trade this week. One trade that I was waiting for all week. Same stuff. So price was consolidated in here. Price pulled up. Okay, that's telling us we want to be going up. Price had pulled all the way back down. Didn't get into any trades on the way back down because, like with GJ, I've just lost out so many times doing that. Pulled back down into here. Got rejection. Got their breaker structure above, pulled all the way back. Now with the GJ, what I have found through my years of trading, and this was the first P I ever traded, I had seen price push up, comes back into like an area and then continues to go up. Now this is missing the orders from this point of interest. Now if you're familiar with order blocks, you know that price usually comes back to order blocks to grab that money and then start pushing up. So this is what we call like a fake entry. So if people are FOMO into this sort of stuff all the time, because they don't want to miss out, and they usually end up entering like somewhere around here. Anyway, missed this order block, price pulls all the way back down to it and then absolutely runs. From this point that we entered, super clean setup right into this point of interest, stop loss below, because if it did break below, I don't think it's really trying to target anything down here and it will just end up falling anyway. So that's why I had my stop loss there. Price just continues to absolutely push high low back into this point of interest and just absolutely run. Again, only held this trade up until like a 1 to 6. It was somewhere in here, which was just after midnight as well. If we had held this trade all the way to the top, it would have been a 1 to 8. Very clean 1 to 8 trade. So not upset about that. Didn't take anything on UJ. However, this trade here, absolutely so good. Okay, so we get the push up, we get the change of character after this big bearish movement. Price is pushing up, pulls back, could have entered there, didn't want to. Get another breaker structure, price just continuing to go up. Now we had this point of interest down here, which same thing, price had barely tapped into it. So it's not realistic that we are going to catch all of these orders because of spread, everything like that. Price pushing up, now price coming back down. We had 5-minute point of interest down here. Price absolutely coming to the bottom of this 5-minute point of interest. Didn't enter on that because we were super heavy, just pushing down. I wanted to see a change, okay? So pushes up, comes back, and for some reason I had just gotten out of those other trades. I was just having a look at the market. Obviously I did not get in to this trade. Just keep that in mind because this is like 3 o'clock in the morning. To the strategy that we teach in our education platform. This is so key for us to be looking at, right? So off this point of interest, we get the push up, pulls back to this point of interest right here, and that is where we're trading it from, right here. Okay, stop loss below this previous low, and then it just absolutely runs. And if we had held this trade or entered this trade, it would have been a 1 to 15. 1 to 15. It's absolutely crazy. Like when I go back and do these types of videos, and I don't usually, this is the first time I'm doing it for YouTube, usually just do it for the education platform. You see it and then you're like, oh, if only I had done this, if only I had done that. But you can't be upset with like the profits that you're making as a day trader, especially when you have a strategy that works for you. Realistically, like I do want to get into, intraday trading, the longer stuff, which I know a lot of content creators that are now coming very successful in day trading are getting into. They're just holding trades for a longer period of time, and that's just swing trading. All right, gold. Now this is something that I trade a lot. I did take a lot of trades all through here. Usually with gold I do like a lot of scalping and stuff like that. However, these are some of the trades that we actually ended up getting into, and with our students as well. Here was the first trade. So we had pushed off this support area here, supply zone, and just started to create lower lows, lower highs. Bearish market structure. We got this massive push down, which left this point of interest here. This is a 15. And on our 5-minute, which you guys know is what I like to use to enter from, there was a very nice 5-minute clean point of interest there. So we got this pull down here, price pulls back up, getting rejection here, but pulls back up. So for me, it's like, this is what I would call a sell trap. But because we got rejection from here multiple times, I decided to take the trade, which was just going into like the end of London session, and it just ended up melting through. Got out here I got out at a 1 to 5, so somewhere up here, which was a very nice trade. It did take a little while, but we were just from this point creating that lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low scenario, so that is giving us a bearish market structure. And then price just started pushing up going into New York session. Okay, so this was Wednesday morning, so that was news. Price pulled all the way back up into this point of interest here, which is 15 minute point of interest here, working above into this point of interest, which at that point I was like, see what happens. Price comes back down, and so we get rejection from the high. Price pulls down, gets that change of character, and then on our 1 minute, which is up here, price pulls all the way back up into stop loss above. Don't usually like to leave, you know, a massive stop loss on gold, because it's just, sometimes it's not worth it. Sometimes you are going to get worked out, which a lot of the times you do, but you're only losing 1%. If majority of the time you're going to win 1 to 3s, 1 to 5s, 1 to 10s, whatever, and it doesn't matter about risking a few trades to try and win the big ones. Okay, I definitely lose throughout the week, and I'm only losing 1%. Now, price pulled down, pulled all the way back in, and again, just an absolutely textbook trade according to my strategy. So that trade there ran a 1 to 10. I only ended up setting it at a 1 to 5 because this was after midnight. Yeah, I was going to bed. So price pushed the 1 to 10. I was only in for like a 1 to 4, 1 to 5. So that's those two trades that we actually caught on our lives. And then the last trade that I want to show you guys is the NFP trade. We predicted NFP, we knew it was coming, and I'm going to show you guys how. So price had pulled down, got retracement. So this is our internal change of character. Pulls back up, gets another breaker structure, just like those other trades. Pulls back up again, and then off this point, I am looking for NFP to sell off anyway. So I enter from this point. Price pushes down quite nicely. So I'd entered here, and it keeps pushing up for like 1, 2, 3 5-minute candles. And it, like if you've ever traded, and in your head you're like, oh shit, this isn't going to go the way, NFP is going to go up. It just happens, and we get this very nice candle right after NY open, and from that point I was like, okay, we're definitely going down. Like, there hasn't been a more cleaner setup for NFP than this. Price pulls down, get consolidation around here, and then NFP comes in, we just absolutely melt. Now at this point I'm like, okay, I'm so keen on this trade. It did run a 1 to 10, again I only held it for a 1 to 5, and that is just it. A 1 to 5 trade, over and done with, and we're away. So that wraps up the key moves from this week's market. Whether it was something small or something big that you took away from this video, I hope the value that you've learned today can help you navigate the market so that you can trade better. If you got value from this breakdown, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification button so that next week when we put our analysis again, you guys can see that straight away. I drop all my trades and my market breakdowns daily in our education platform and on our signals. So if you want to be involved with that, hit the links below and get on board. We'd love to hear from you. So if you have anything to say, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to see the markets that you guys are trading and the trends that you guys can see happening within the markets. The input that you guys have helps me tailor this content to help you guys gain value. Thank you again for watching. Keep learning, keep pushing, and remember, your financial freedom starts with knowledge. Catch you in the next one.